This is Emails That Convert with Launch 27 and Yeah Emails. And Kevin, you can go ahead and take it away, introduce yourself, and then get started.
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot. If you don't know me, my name's Kevin. I started Instamades back a couple months after Rohan made that famous post on Reddit. And so I had Instamades, I sold it, and I've had multiple other companies. I was involved in Wet Shave Club. Um, Now involved in, well, always been involved in Groove Learning, and now involved in Inclusive, and I just started up Yeah Emails. And basically, I was doing emails for Inclusive. We have a list of about 100,000 people, and while doing emails, I always, I had this realization where, I always hated doing emails for all of my other businesses because, you kind of just are in the day-to-day tasks of, running your business and then kind of getting out of that and setting aside an hour or two to put an email together and then do that consistently, which is something I don't think many of us really do. So I started Yeah Emails, which is basically just a company where we handle all of your email marketing. But I don't want to talk too much about Yeah Emails and have this be a complete pitch. What I want to talk today is basically going to be about emails predominantly for local business, and yeah, we'll just get right into it. Um, so when it comes to email marketing, um, a lot of people think that it's not as relevant as it was before, and it's not. That's not completely true. It's still really relevant, and it's still one of the best marketing channels you're probably going to have, especially if you're consistent with your email marketing. So, one of the reasons why email marketing is great is because you're in charge. It's not completely up to Google or to Facebook or Yelp. You're able to send those email blasts, and you're completely in charge of that. And, you own the emails. So if you want to change, email marketing platforms or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You're in charge. And again, it's still one of the best ROI in marketing that you can find. So it's really important to have a pretty good email marketing strategy. Um, so when it comes to emails, there's really three different types of emails, and your company is going to have at least two of them, most likely three. Uh, so the three different types are going to be automated emails, transactional emails, and then either campaign or broadcast emails. So when it comes to automated emails, this is typically based off of an action. Sometimes these can look like flowcharts where it's a if this then that type scenario. Um, it can be a welcome email. It can be a anniversary based email where if you had a customer who it's now 365 days after they first joined, you can send them an anniversary email. It can be based off of their behavior on your website. So perhaps they visited a page and then didn't visit another page, or however you want to have that set up. And then you can also do like cart abandonment emails. And typically with an automated email campaign, you're going to have some sort of tracking code on your website usually. And then that way you can track if somebody, for example, clicks on one of your emails and then visits your website, then you can send them a different group of emails or however you want to do that. But that's basically an automated email. It's based off of the user's interaction with emails or your website or whatever it is that you can track. And again, it's going to kind of depend upon what email marketing platform you're using, but most of them, have that. The second type of email is a transactional email. This is basically something that your developer is probably going to set up, or you're already going to have set up in your software, where it's going to be like password resets, invoices. It's basically certifying an action that the user is taking. So, an email after an account is created, order confirmation, recovery passwords, all basic non-promotional emails. Those are going to be your transactional emails. And then finally, we have the broadcast or campaign emails, which we're going to be mostly talking about today. These are emails that are going off, for holidays when maybe you're a little slow and you want to increase your bookings. These are either one-off or in a series of emails, depending on what you're doing. But yeah, that's probably the most common email that you're going to be receiving in your inbox or sending out. Um, so before we jump into some other things, I do want to talk about list segmentation, which is super important. And what list segmentation is basically knowing what this email is, what's its value to you. And you're going to have at least two groups of lists. You're going to have your leads, who are emails that you've collected but have not converted, have not become clients, and then you're going to have your client list. You can either have your list segmentation all in one list or completely separate lists, depending on what you're doing. It doesn't really matter. It's fine to have everything in one list as long as it's segmented and you can segment it. So when it comes to leads, you don't necessarily need anything other than the email, but it is a good idea to have something like first name so that you can create some personalization in the emails. When it comes to your list that includes clients, you want to have a little bit more information. So you want to have things like first name, last name. You want to keep those separate as well. Just because a lot of times I see a lot of lists where they're together and it's really hard to start an email with hello Kevin Pereira. It's just way too formal and it just doesn't really look good. So you want to have the first and last name separate. You want to have things in there like how many bookings they've done, what their frequency is of their bookings, when was their last booking, maybe who's their cleaning team. If you know who their cleaning team is, then it's kind of nice to have an email that can be personalized that way. Another thing with Launch 27, you can have your referral code. So if you want to send an email, basically like an affiliate email, you can include that referral code in there, and then it just kind of add a little bit of code so that for each of those emails, it will include their personal referral code so that if they were to refer somebody, who that user was. And yeah, basically, you just want to have as much information in your list as possible. It's going to determine which emails you send to who. Of course, you don't want to send, just any email to everybody. You want to be pretty specific with which emails you're sending to who. So yeah, let's go into sending schedules. So when you're thinking about when to send an email, typically these are like some pretty rough guidelines, but basically the best time to be sending an email is going to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesday in that order. Sending on the weekends, I've done a lot of tests, but it's always been pretty bad. Monday isn't bad as well, and I send a lot of emails on Monday. Fridays, usually you don't get a lot of conversions. The best time to send is going to be somewhere around 10 and 11 a.m. on whatever time zone that your list is in, and then also around 2 to 4:30 p.m. And the reason is you want to basically think about when somebody, your average reader, what are they doing? And they're probably at work, and right before lunch, they have most of their tasks done. And so if you send them an email, they might, there might be a greater chance for them to read that. But if you send somebody an email at like 9 a.m., they probably have a whole bunch of work that they need to get caught up with, and they're probably not going to be opening up your email and taking any sort of action that you want them to take. So you want to kind of think about what the average person is doing at that time. Another time that does work sometimes, depending on your area and a whole bunch of stuff, is sending late at night. So maybe if you're in a party town like Las Vegas or something, you might want to think about sending an email around midnight. Because if somebody just had a party or something and they're going to need to clean their house, that actually does work quite a bit, but it does depend. So yeah, basically you want to send emails, as a general rule of thumb, Tuesdays and Thursdays, around 10 a.m., 11 a.m., or 2 to 4. That's typically when you're going to see the best open rates right away. And usually what we'll do as well is if somebody, I'll send out an email on Tuesday or Monday, and if they don't open it, I'll usually resend that email to people who did not read it a day or two later. So yeah, that's basically, typical optimized sending schedule for emails. When it comes to headlines, um, it's pretty. This is pretty important, and if you write the wrong subject line, um, it could be pretty bad in the sense of you might not even get delivered into somebody's inbox. But as general rules for what to write, um, you want to do something that's relative to that person. You might want to have something that's time sensitive. You want to be a little friendly, a little fun, and really just talk like a human and not a corporation. You can include things like social proof, like lots of people are booking for the holidays, something along those lines. Um, and you also want to have a pre-header text. So the pre-header text is a little snippet right under the subject line. You always want to be sure to include that and have it something that's also going to pique their interest, because I'm sure you've noticed on your on your phone when you're looking at your mail, you'll have the subject line, who it's from, and then you'll also have the little pre-header text. That's something that people also read, and it's almost just as important as the headline. So you want to make sure that that's also interesting. But probably more important than all of that is avoiding certain words. So now you have basically these spam filters and these deliverability issues, and these algorithms that are looking at the kind of words that you use. So you typically want to avoid certain words like 50% off, free, book, order, winner, amazing, guaranteed, bonus, basically those types of like salesy words. If you include that in your header, there's a good chance that your email service provider isn't going to accept that email or send it to spam. So that's one of the things that they look at. Um, so let's see how to create value so that people keep opening up your emails. What we try to do with emails is, we want our emails to have like really fun copy. We don't want it to be long, but we want it to be like funny, lighthearted, and we try to avoid just sending emails where it's a promotion or it's a discount. If and I'll probably talk about this again, but if all you're doing is emailing discounts and it's a discount, 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 then basically you're just lowering your total price of your booking all the time, and because people are going to really only book when they have a discount, because now that's the normal price. So you don't want to just be sending discounts and stuff. You can send an email, for example, you can send a Thanksgiving email basically just giving thanks to your customers. That's a great email to send. Now is the holidays and we're thinking about our customers, and you make this all possible. Thank you so much. Just send that. I mean, that's a great email to send. And even if you don't have an objective, you could ask them to book or something, but just to send them thanks, that's an email that can help increase your open rates and your other statistics. So yeah, we typically like to just keep it simple. Maybe sometimes we can use scarcity and other things like social proof and stuff, but yeah, basically we don't like to have very serious corporate type emails. We basically want to have emails that we would want to read as readers. So yeah, let's see here. So how to convert those people that do open your emails to sales. So typically, when you're talking about like email conversions, it's going to depend upon a lot of how your email, well, assuming that somebody actually opens your email, the simplicity of it, and it's very similar to how your website is designed. Is it very obvious what you want them to do, right? What you want your viewers to do. So when it comes to your email, you have to think of it like it's a, you know, somebody who's drunk, or it's a kid or somebody. It has to be super obvious. If they're just, you want to have a big call to action button, which we include in all of our emails. It's very obvious. It's color coordinated. It stands out. We basically are saying, this is what we want you to do. Sometimes we'll include two call to actions, which will be the same thing, but there will be one at the top, one at the bottom, so it's even simpler. You do want to keep the call to actions to be one singular thing, however. So typically we like to, if we're sending an email about gutter cleaning, then it's just gutter cleaning. It's not going to be, things like deep cleaning, move in and out, or all this other stuff. We like to keep it simple and to the point and concise, because otherwise people just aren't going to know what they want, and they're not going to do anything. Yeah, and again, going back to not always discounting. You might think that, and you might also have higher CTA or click-through rate, sorry, if you have a discount, but you don't always want to include discounts in your emails, because then people might not book with the regular price. So we will always probably send around 50% of the emails without a discount or more, so that they're not always expecting a discount. All right, so let's see. I have some other stuff here. Email must-dos. So what you want to do is you want to have that unsubscribe button on your email. You don't want to try and hide it too much. It's actually pretty good and healthy for your list when people do unsubscribe, because if they're not, if they're not interested in your emails, you want them to be able to easily unsubscribe. That's going to keep your email list healthy, and what you don't want is somebody not being able to find that unsubscribe button and then marking your email as spam, because what happens is they'll say this, your email service provider will then say, this sender sends spam, and if you get too many of those, then your email deliverability can decrease dramatically. So having that unsubscribe button on the bottom, maybe even at the top, it doesn't, in small letters, but not hidden, is sometimes a good thing. You're going to have other things too, depending upon who your marketing platform is. Like you might have to include your address at the bottom, who this was sent by, and all these other things. And depending upon your email marketing platform, some of them are just going to include those automatically. I think it's like a constant contact. It's almost impossible to change that bottom footer. And of course, one thing that's really important: never send emails to emails that you didn't earn yourself. If you're buying emails that you so for example, if you bought an email list off of another company, you probably don't want to send that via your own company's email list. And the reason is because people who aren't aware, don't know what's going on, they might mark you as spam, and it could just ruin your list health. So you want to be careful of that. Other things you want to do, we talked about the pre-header. Another thing that's really important is alt text on your images. And what alt text is if your images in your email, if you have any, and typically you will, if they don't load, what is your browser basically reading, and what's being shown on that email? And an alt text is basically going to describe what that image should be, or it should, or is, or whatever. So you want to make sure that all your images in your emails do have alt text. And when it comes to emails and images, you do want to limit yourself on the images. It's fine to send emails with no images. Typically, we do send emails with a header image on almost all of our emails, but unless we're selling, we're sending emails that are product-based emails where we want to show the product, we're probably not going to be including any images. And that's kind of just a general rule of thumb to help increase your clicks and just how your performance of your emails. Let's talk about email platforms. So through emails, we've been basically shown every kind of email platform around, and my favorites are probably going to be MailChimp, and what Dara sent me was Sendinblue. I actually really like Sendinblue, and it's probably my favorite, and it's what we're going to be using for emails for our own email service provider. And for least favorites, I'd probably have to say Constant Contact, maybe Aweber, but yeah, Constant Contact is just really outdated, and I don't like it at all. But most of these email marketing platforms all pretty much do the same thing now, and it really just kind of depends what your needs are. But going with anything like MailChimp or whatever is fine. And for emails, we use whatever platform our clients are currently using, so it doesn't really matter. So finally, what I have here under my notes is some common metrics, and what your metrics should look like. So when it comes to deliverability, which is basically how many emails you're sending versus how many were received, we don't really need to go into this unless you have probably tens of thousands of emails or more. But your deliverability should be over 90%, and that 10% or less are going to be due to either a hard or a soft bounce. A hard bounce is an email that you're sending where the email doesn't exist, or the account was deleted, and that's not that great to be sending out those emails, because it's basically telling the email service providers that you're sending out emails to perhaps an old list or a list that you bought. It's really not an actual email, so it's not indicative of a healthy list or a healthy sender. So you do want to be careful of that. And then soft bounces are going to be things like somebody's inbox was full, or something along those lines, which is not as bad as a hard bounce. But yeah, deliverability. If your list is over 50,000 or something like that, then that's something you're going to really get into. But otherwise, if you have a couple hundred or a couple thousand, shouldn't really be an issue. When it comes to open rates for local business, you should be in the 20s at the very least, and this is going to depend upon a couple different things. If you have an email list and you haven't sent them an email in a year or more, you can expect to have a very low open rate. You can expect your open rate to be less than 10%, and the reason is because these email readers don't remember you. Maybe they have no idea who you are. They're not accustomed to your emails, so they're not going to be opening them. And this is one of the reasons why you want to have a very consistent email marketing program, and it's because the health of these statistics are going to go down if you're not consistent with your email marketing. So typical open rates are 20 and above. We have some clients that are doing 50%, and they have really healthy lists. They send to them regularly. But if you're not, then you can expect lower open rates. When it comes to click-throughs, these are going to be how many people are opening your email and then clicking on one of the links. This is going to be determined by a lot of factors, like how obvious your call to action is. Do you have a really long email and is the call to action at the very bottom? If so, you can expect a really bad click-through rate. But if you have a very short, sweet email and a very obvious call to action, and it's enticing, and it's something people want to click on, then of course the click-through rate is going to be a lot higher. And then the other common metric that you're going to have is conversions. How many? Let's say you sent 1,000 emails. How many conversions did you get from that? What's your conversion rate? And that's something that you can either track via your email marketing program, or I'm sorry, your email marketing software, or um, you can also use Google Analytics as well. And depending upon the link that you have for your CTA button, you can track how many people clicked on that link that's special from the email, and then how many actually booked or did whatever action that you want them to take. So that's most of what my notes are for this webinar. Dara, do you have any questions from anybody?
I have some questions of my own. I loved the presentation, and it's interesting. There's a lot of things that not only do I need to do with Enjoy Mates, I'm horrible when sending emails. And like you said, not reaching out regularly. I do reach out, sending them promo codes, is teaching people to only book when there's a price adjustment. And that's why, it's rare to get that full price booking nowadays. So a lot of that really resonated with me. You mentioned not having image heavy emails. Um, it, and you said if it's a product you would, but why not if it's like a newsletter or something like that?
So there's a couple of reasons. Sometimes, depending upon the email service provider and who you're sending, what email marketing platform you're on, it might not render an image a lot of times, and that's why it's important to have alt text. So if you send 1,000 emails, you're probably going to have maybe 100 people who, and let's say 1,000 people actually read your email. You might have 100 people or more who don't see any images.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so it's important that when you're sending an email, the images are not an integral part of the email. They're not absolutely required. And if you're sending a product email, if you're selling products, that's something that's going to make people want to click and actually buy that. But if you're selling a service, right, and you have a picture of like a maid, it's not really going to be something that people are going to. It's not going to force them to click through that, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, I get what
Um,
you're saying. It's
yeah,
not
but
the defining factor and what helps them convert.
exactly. So yeah, as a general rule of thumb, you don't want to have more than one or two images. We always have like a header image, like I said, but yeah, you really want to limit yourself on how many images. Even though it looks good on emails, and I'd love to have images, and you still want to, as a general rule of thumb, limit yourself to one or two images max on your emails.
Wow, I did not know that. There's another question here. For local business, how often should you send emails? And what is the um, like the consistency?
Yeah, so what we try and do, and we seem works best for emails is once a week. Um, and if you send less than twice a month, what seems to happen is people just forget who you are and they unsubscribe a lot more. Um, and I mean, I'm sure we all have gotten emails in our inbox and we're like, who is this company?
Mm.
Right? You don't even remember them, or you forgot what your relationship was with them, so you just unsubscribe. And that can happen to a lot of your leads. So if you kind of go through your inbox and look at the emails that you get maybe once a week or twice a week, um, you're probably not unsubscribing from them because their emails are, they're fun, they're personable, they're important somehow. Maybe it's because they have a discount code and you want to keep that email there. So I would say on average once a week, you want to have a touch point. And that could mean that you're sending 3 emails a week because you have different list segmentations, right? You have your leads who are different from your clients. So maybe you're sending, one email to your leads and then another to your clients, or some form of that. So as a general rule of thumb, that's what I would say, once a week.
Okay, cool. And then let me look Any questions? Um, let's see. There's another question about unsubscribing. Do you how hard do you make it for the people who unsubscribe to unsubscribe, or do you just kind of let them go? And if they do unsubscribe, do you ever reach out to them again, or are they just no longer a lead?
Yeah, so I try and have it so that it's easy to unsubscribe, and I used to be the opposite. I used to like, try and make the unsubscribe text like gray, right? So it kind of blends into the background and all this stuff, but it's actually not good for the health of your list. You want to have people unsubscribe and easily do so. And the reason is because if they mark you as spam, or they can even do things that are worse, which is basically um, report your email. And if they do that, it's really, really bad. And you could have a tainted domain name URL. It could basically say this company sends spam, and it's very hard to recover from that. So making it easy for people to unsubscribe is a pretty good thing. When it comes to sending emails to people who have already unsubscribed, you actually can do that, but you want to do that very, very rarely. But it's something that you still can do.
And so again, I just want to remind everybody about emails because it's funny. You say all this stuff, and I'm agreeing with you, and I know I should do it, but like you said, at 10 a.m. when I'm knee deep in responding to customers and figuring out my next marketing tactic, it's hard to stop and consistently send those emails. So just tell us a bit more about what you offer in terms of, um, you know,
Yeah, so I mean that's throughout all of my companies, problem I've had is my email marketing hasn't been consistent. So that's what kind of brought me with the idea for Yeah Emails. And what we do is you basically just sign up on our website. We'll send you an email, and every month we will create 4 emails for you. We also have an unlimited plan, but our basic plan is 4 emails. Excuse me. And it could be whatever types of emails that you need. We will do for you, and then we'll write the copy. We'll do the design. We will do the HTML, and then we will schedule it in whatever email marketing platform that you're using. So you don't have to change anything. Basically, all we need is a login um, or an account, and then we get going. And we work with you to, sorry, kind of figure out what you need, and we just do the emails for you.
okay, perfect. And you are working with a number of Launch 27 customers now?
Yeah, so we're about a month old, and we already have about a dozen Launch 27 customers.
Okay.
So it's going pretty smooth, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. And how's the best way for people to reach out to you if they have questions or if they want to sign up?
You can go to yaemails.com, or you can send me an email at hello@yaemails.com.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much. And again, if anyone has any questions about emails, Kevin gave you a way to contact him. And of course, if you have a question about Launch 27, you can send us an email at support@launch27.com or pose a question in the Facebook group or contact myself. I'm always available on Facebook Messenger, or you can send me an email at dara@launch27.com. All right. Thank you very much, Kevin. Talk soon.
Thanks a lot. That was fun.
Thanks. Bye.